Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. As always, I'm your host, Scott Carson. Excited to be here with you today. As always, we're excited to have our good buddy, Aaron Young from Laughlin Associates on today to talk a little about entrepreneurship, asset protection, and ways for you to really magnify your wealth in the new year. Aaron, it's glad to have you on, buddy. I know you've been out traveling, speaking in different parts of the country. You spent some time over in Europe with Michelle, having some fun as well. So welcome.
It's good to be back with you. This is one of my very favorite things I ever get to do. So I always love that you have me on. We had a great time over, it's been about 3 weeks ago now. We went over. So, talk about entrepreneurship, right? I mean, my whole thing is I've been buying companies all these years. I own Laughlin Associates, which we want to definitely talk a little bit about. But I teach this thing called the Unshackled Owner, and that European trip is a great example, right? I go over to give a 1 hour talk, but you go for 11, 12 days, right? We went over, we goofed, we had a lot of fun. We stayed in a great place. We went over to Amsterdam for a couple of days and just enjoyed that city. And when you figure out how to build something that can actually work while you're not there, make money for you while you're not there, then you can go out, have a great time. And it was great. The Best You event at the big old Olympia London Convention Center was great. They had about 15,000 people. I was up on the main stage. It was fun. But mostly it was a great date with my wife. And we had our 32nd anniversary while we were there.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. For those that don't know, Aaron Young, he is the CEO of Laughlin Associates out of Reno, Nevada. It's a company that's been around for 48 years now, I believe.
48 years.
48 years. It specializes in putting together your LLCs and the paperwork and everything that goes along with it on a monthly, daily basis. That goes along with keeping your business assets separate from your personal assets with the asset protection side of those that are listening across the country on our different networks of AM, FM radio stations out there, then also those that are watching live on Facebook or those that are listening to the podcast and any of our 20 plus podcasting platforms out there. But Aaron and I've known each other for years, good friends. I guess, 5-6 years now, Aaron, is that right?
I was trying to think about it. I know we met in San Diego at an event, and I've been trying to put a finger on how long it's been, but it's been, at least 5-6 years.
Exactly. And I ran to our good buddy, Travis Houston, out in San Diego a couple of weeks ago, who told me to tell you hello as well.
Hey, Travis. Yeah, he's a great guy, really good guy. We have a lot of very interesting mutual friends that we could sit here and drop names for an hour. But it's interesting because the event that we met at is starting today or tomorrow, the Secret Knock at Secret
Knock,
which is a good event. And I just got back from last night from Orange County, and they were, are you going to Secret Knock? And I was like, no, man, I got other things to do. We got baby horses on the ground, baby goats. Why would I go to a business event when I go play on my farm?
That's right. So those that don't know, Aaron is our resident goat herder, by the way. But you talked about going to Europe, going over to London and Amsterdam and Europe for 3 weeks. First of all, congratulations, 32 years. Michelle's just a sweetheart. You guys look like you had a great time, especially visiting or walking through the red light district in Amsterdam.
Well, that was so cool. So I've never been there, right? And I grew up super conservative Mormon, this was the devil.
Right.
But you get over there and first of all, it's a different culture.
Yeah.
And they've made decisions about what can be for sale in that place. And no matter what anybody wants to talk about, the morality of it, the lasciviousness, whatever you want to tag the thing, I'll tell you this, they have a much lower rate of sex crimes over there. And so you have to ask yourself, I think it's important to be always asking yourself, why do I feel the way I do about whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And how much of my culture how much the way I was brought up, the way that I've been running my business, the way that I got educated, how much of that is the things that we assume are absolutely unquestionably right. You know, you ask, is that a fact, a feeling, or an opinion? And I was very surprised to walk through that district, Scott, and see family homes, apartments, because you know these are all old buildings.
Yep.
So here's a series of windows with these women in their underwear, right? And then right above that is some family in a very expensive place, you know, a $2 million apartment, having dinner.
That's definitely an interesting view. Yeah. You're blown away on stuff, huh?
Well, I'm just saying, whatever seemed to be a fact in the United States, street corners and trafficking and all stuff, over there is on these windows, some of them said for rent. So it's like, hey, if you want to come work here, we've got a window for you, you know? And to me, it was just a weird juxtaposition. And I don't know, it wasn't weird.
Right.
I've never frequented one of these places, you know, and I got married young, and I'm a conservative guy. I've been true to my one woman. Right.
Right.
But it's interesting because it was Michelle's idea. I would have never said to my lovely wife, hey, sweetie, let's go wander through the red light district. Let's go check out the chicks. I would have never done that. But
it's a whole different meaning to window shopping.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You know, and there you don't want to go to the sale rack. So it's
clearance.
Oh, I just got in trouble with everybody right there. Anyway, the point is, it was Michelle who said, let's go check it out. I want to see it. And all my dad instincts came out. I started worrying, like, what if nobody wants to come, you know, knock on her door, stand here all night long in your underwear? How awkward would that be? Is this turning into Howard Stern? It might be.
Not quite. We got some people.
It was a weird experience. That's all I'm trying to say.
Exactly. Well, we got people like Shannon Friend from Denver's laughing at us. Michelle, your lovely wife says rude.
Oh, she's on. Oh,
she's
great.
Watching this. All right. For those that are listening, we do these live on Facebook Live and blast them out across our Facebook platforms as well as a good way to get some people coming back in. But so let's what's the lesson learned from that? Is it to step outside of your norm to find a different way to market? Here
the legit, in my opinion, the legit lesson is that there are things that we've made decisions about what is possible,
right?
What is right, what should be. And mostly it's based on comfort. Here's what I'm used to. Here's what I'm looking for myself as a consumer. And things should be there to fit my particular way of looking at the world, or my shopping habits, or my interests. And when we make business decisions strictly based on our personal interests, proclivities, belief systems, we're leaving out most of the people in the community or in the world. I tell my marketing team all the time, don't use me as our specific avatar. Let's make sure that we're building avatars around the people we want to attract, because Aaron is not necessarily the exact right model. And so that's what I learned. I went over there, I looked at it, I thought they're crazy busy. There are tons of people visiting Amsterdam, not just for the red light district, not just for, marijuana or whatever, because now that's legal in 29, 30 states in the United States now. By the way, it's illegal in Amsterdam. That's interesting. It's illegal, but super out there. You can buy pot in every store, it seems like. Interesting, maybe it's because it's a small government, but they ignore it. It's illegal, but they don't enforce that law, and they haven't for years because it brings so many tourists. Isn't that interesting?
That's definitely interesting. Yeah, that is
the government playing along. And well, so what I learned was, don't get hung up you can have your own company be based on your own values, but don't it's important to look at what else is out there and what other people want to buy. Because remember, the way to get wealthy is find out what people want, go out and get it and give it to them.
Yeah.
That's how you get wealthy.
That's a good point. Because if you're up here, but all your, if you're in rare air and you're trying to sell something that maybe doesn't fit quite with the rare air, you've got to expand your market, expand your avatar, as you say, to find the ideal aspect of thing. And you see all that happen a lot of time with companies that have like premier stuff. They will adjust their marketing and add a second line or a second, kind of avenue of not a cheaper product or an inferior product, but a cheaper price point of some sort to help attract client and attract clients and profits and things like that as well too. You see pretty often.
Hey, we do that. We at Laughlin Associates, we have a few pages out there, landing pages that are offering kind of a bare bones version because there are companies like LegalZoom who are doing huge advertising promos all the time, and they're talking about certain price points. Now in the industry, we know that what they're saying is incomplete, but all they're saying is, here, buy the incomplete thing for a cheap price, right? So to be competitive, you still have to be able to say, well, we can do that for the same price,
right?
But then at our actual Laughlin, we're saying, if you want to do it properly, if you want to be complete, not expensive, I mean, maybe 10% or less of what a lawyer would charge, but no offense to the lawyers, but we have hundreds of lawyers that come to us to form companies. Mm-hmm. And so, or to do corporate compliance, none of the lawyers want to do that. So the point is that you have to be willing to go out there and meet the market where it is, but that doesn't mean you can't, under your main banner, offer a really excellent premier sort of product, which is what we do. Laughlin, we're real proud of the fact that we don't sell more or less than what you need. Mm-hmm. We're not going to we're not going to oversell, and we're not going to do a crummy halfway job. And that discourages some buyers, but it also keeps us at almost 90% renewal. People stay with us every year. Why? Because we did just the right thing, not more, not less. Anyway, I'm not trying to make it a sales pitch. I'm just saying that it's a belief system in how you run. You've got to meet your people, but at the end of the day, your main flagship product, and Scott, this, has got to be really good. And having met a lot of your customers and been to your live events and your online events, if you're going to put your name on it, or it's going to be your primary thing, you want to make sure you can be proud of it. Make sure that you don't go somewhere and people go, oh, you're that guy, you're a bad guy. I want to be able to say, who's a Laughlin client when I'm standing up on stage, and be excited to see the hands go up, not worried.
Right, exactly.
I think you know what I mean.
Well, that's a big thing. You have to realize that, and you've done a really great job of this. You guys being very focused in your neck of the woods. You're focused on that. You're not doing a lot of crazy outside things that you do with the Unshackled Owner and the Magnify, all kind of build up around your corporate veil protection, the nuts and bolts, the peanut butter jelly sandwich that Laughlin Associates is. And that's moving and rock and roll before you add anything else. And you and I were talking before we jumped on here about, hey, making sure kind of tweaks and changes to the industry and changes to marketing and events that we attend and speak at, so that we kind of are highlighting, but also effectively hitting new clients out there. And I think a lot of people, especially in the note industry, and I say this is a straight up voice of experience on this. I've started attending less note investing events and going to other events that aren't focused solely on real estate or notes, to meet other clients and add other people to our database and network everybody. Because it seems, and this happens in a lot of industries, things get hit over and over and over and over again. And let's go talk to some fresh people. Let's go talk and hang out and meet some new people and see what's going on. Right, Aaron?
Well, yeah, but the other thing is about that is that when you're building something in an industry, you need to be at the industry events.
That's correct. Yes.
When you become the leader of the industry, and I won't say undisputed, but I would say that the vast majority of people that are in the note industry see you as one of those top 1 or 2 people in the whole industry. And we're always going to have competitors, right? That are good competitors that really keep us sharp.
Amen.
But once you've risen to a certain level in your industry, I think it's critical you get out. You go to the big events, the 1 or 2 big events, but then you go other places, because that's where your customer, now you're not building yourself. Now you need to be building your database. And the database is not going to come from the small little pool of, the regular note investor attendees. You're going to go, like you were just at this, what was it called? Was it the podcasting event you just came from?
Yeah, I was at PodFest Multimedia Expo in Orlando. It was the 5th year they had it. Our buddy Chris Moses that has been putting on the event for the last 5 years. Him and John Dennis, another buddy of mine out there. Tremendous job. They doubled their attendance from 500 last year to over 1,000 this year.
Wow.
And I had the honor. They had a speaking spot available. They asked me to speak at last year's event. They asked me to speak on this year's event on what we've done here with the podcast and the success that we've had. And then we had our buddy Tom Hazard, and I had him come on. We talked a little bit about how we've grown our podcast and done some things, but how we market it by hitting other avenues besides just throwing stuff up on one thing and letting one thing go. And I think that's kind of the focus. I think a lot of our entrepreneurs get focused on doing one thing, and they need to make sure that you're cross-pollinating, whether it's, like we post, this episode will go out 8 or 9 different places, whether it's going on Facebook or LinkedIn or on the podcasting platform, on our radio stations across the country. It'll become a blog. There's a variety of different things out there just to kind of hit people in different, it's our same clients, but in different platforms where they may see us.
People consume information differently.
That's
so
right.
we need to be finding what the way they want to hear about it. But, it's really true. So what we do is kind of, it's not super exciting, right? What I do at my company is we help people get into the right business structure, corporation, C Corp, S Corp, LLC, limited partnership. Should you have a trust? Should you get a foundation? Like what's the right structure for your goals? And then what are the rules that you're supposed to be following? The legal compliance that 95% of companies out there don't follow. And then because they're not following, and mostly because they don't even know what they're supposed to do, if they ever get into a lawsuit, a divorce, applying for a government contract, they get audited, some situation where they get examined, they get looked at, all of a sudden their company doesn't protect them. They might get their tax deductions erased, and all of a sudden all these taxes that they thought they wouldn't. So even though what we do doesn't seem really super sexy, it's not like make $1 million in 90 days, right? Even what you guys do, buy a home for 25 cents on the dollar, right? Or whatever. I mean, I don't know if those are existing right now, but there was a time a few years ago where you could really make some killer buys. But the point is, it's important to get out and talk to other people in other industries and other places and explain to them, hey, isn't it great that you're podcasting? Isn't it great that you're buying notes? Isn't it awesome that you're a McDonald's franchisee or a State Farm franchisee? And did you know that there are these things that you need to be doing in order to be legal? And so there's we've got to get out in front of people who need us, who are not in our industry. That's the bottom line there.
Totally great point there, because that's this thing. I'm not talking about podcasting a little bit at the event, and I have people come like, hey, tell me more about how you buy and sell notes. Tell me more about how you do that. And it's the same thing. You're out at a networking, talking to people at an event, a huge event in London, and there are people going, hey, talk more about what you're doing as an unshackled owner. And go ahead, you were going to say something?
Well, I'll tell you, the Unshackled Owner thing, that one is the sexy one to the right person. And I have new clients now from England, a guy from Poland came to England just to hear me talk about that topic, about becoming an unshackled owner. A guy from Romania and his wife, who own a string of pizza restaurants, came specifically to hear that talk. Now, I'm just going to tell you, those two are Eastern Bloc countries. Like, right? I grew up thinking they're the enemy, right? As a little kid, till 1989, when the wall came down, we thought Czechoslovakia and Poland and Russia and all those places, and Romania was part of it, were like, who are these people? Then you meet them, you go, oh my gosh, these people are freaking awesome. And they're doing really interesting entrepreneurial things, and their countries are just growing, and they're going, the business is taking over my life.
Right.
It's taken over my life. I need to quit that. I need to get control of it. How can I become unshackled? So that it's really interesting that I get to be with people who are at the very beginning of their dream, right? They're just getting started. They're leaving the W-2 job, or they're starting to be an investor. Like I've met a lot of people from you, they're buying notes, all the way to these people that are matured and are wealthy and successful, but they're going, the company's taken over my life. How do I get control again? And it's really fun. I'll tell you, Scott, entrepreneurship is for those that are hardwired for it. A lot of people try to do it. You see this. A lot of people try to do it, but at the end of the day, they don't have the tolerance for risk. Mm-hmm. They don't. Anyway, they're not able to really be wildly successful. But I'll tell you, if those people all over the world that are wired for it, the technology's gotten to where they can do it now. Government regulation. Look at what, even in China, still a communist country, but they're supporting entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. And so we're at a fabulous time in our lives. You and I are getting to see stuff, and these messages that are fairly mature in the United States now are really exciting new information in other places. I bet you saw a lot of that at PodFest.
We did. We saw a lot of that. People going through a variety of things. It fell into a lot of two categories: people that are wanting to start a podcast, or people that have been doing it for a while. Obviously, those two things. But one of the things too is talking with people who had experienced what they call pod fade. And I wanted to ask you, what advice would you have somebody who's got entrepreneur fade, where they get gung-ho, they're excited, they've got their business going, they're a real estate investor, but at some point they hit this wall and it doesn't become fun or passion anymore. Maybe it's more it becomes a job, or it's something that becomes almost like an anchor around their ankles. Because I know you talk with so many entrepreneurs, and that's part of the Unshackled Owner discussion, right?
Yeah, so people ask me regularly. I'd say probably every day. And when I'm at an event, it's one after another. Like, well, what do I do? Like, I've got this idea, or I've been doing this thing. I've had a certain level of success, enough to show up at an event still, right? They're not broke yet, but they're kind of hand to mouth surviving. And the things that I see, the reason people lose the enthusiasm, lose the passion, you said passion or whatever, is usually because two things, two separate issues. One of them is they never get out of startup mode. They never really build something around. Here's what happens to entrepreneurs. Well, okay, hold on. There were two things. Let me go to number two and just check those boxes. Now I'll come back to number one. The second thing I wanted to say was there are three reasons businesses succeed or fail, right? The main things that the reason things don't work out is because either their idea is ahead of its time or just a crummy idea, mm-hmm. right? What they want to do is it's either the wrong time or it's just a stupid idea. No offense to anybody, but there are a lot of things you want to do that nobody wants to buy. And so, I mean, it's painful to hear it, but it's a fact. 2, they don't have any money. So they're underfunded. They can't survive long enough to get momentum. Or 3, they don't have the right human resources. They don't have a team. They don't have processes. They don't have an end goal. So even if they can get momentum, they end up floundering because they either the founder, who's the most important employee in the company, remember, they never get out of startup mode. That person just runs out of what they know to do. They run out of ideas. They've used all their clever ideas. And usually people who are great entrepreneurial minds are not great process minds.
Right.
They're not good managers. They're good big picture ideas. Let's keep it moving. They're cheerleaders, but they're not good managers. So those are the 3 reasons companies fail: bad idea or wrong time, no money, no people and systems. The other side is they number 1 on fade is they get bored, because if you're not evolving and growing, you'll get bored. People say, well, I'm selling window blinds, but that's not my passion. My passion is drilling wells for, villages in Africa. And I say, okay, but you can't make any money drilling wells. Well, I'm going to be a nonprofit. I'm going to be a 501c3. Right. And I'm like, okay, but there's like everybody else is a 501c3 too. Why don't you go help a 501, a nonprofit that is already set up, that already has infrastructure? Why do you want to start a new one? Right? Go give your time. But people miss the big point. Like, okay, so what we do isn't an exciting, NASCAR or NBA or make $1 million in a million seconds thing. It's all of our stuff's nuts and bolts practical, right? So it could be easy to get bored. It could be easy to say, this isn't what I'm passionate about. But you know what I'm passionate about is that when people come to me and say, we just had this lawsuit brought against us, and they quit before they really went hardcore after us, because the systems we had in place, built this big brick wall that was impenetrable. They couldn't get through it. Or, I just got the government contract because the first thing they wanted was 3 years of minutes and resolutions. And I had it because you guys did it for me. Mm-hmm. The story that I tell sometimes that was so poignant to me, the guy that got in the car accident and he was at fault. He caused the accident, and he lost his home and his cars and his vacation house and his retirement savings. But here his crippled, broken body all hunched down in front of me, and he said, but they couldn't take my company. They couldn't take my business, so I can still take care of my family. See, when you hear stories like that, it's easy to get passionate. And what are you guys that are listening, even if you think, oh, my business isn't that exciting, but what are you delivering to your customer that makes their life better, that makes their life safer, that makes them feel more successful or more healthy or more confident? Get passionate about that. Get passionate about the results that you're getting for the world, and you'll stay motivated to do hopefully you'll be motivated to do an even better job.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. That's because there's a why, helps with the passion. There becomes a cause almost behind it that you kind of not only buy into, but it's something that helps drive you forward. That's one of the best things that we love here. Is it's not about the deals that we close. Yeah, we close a lot of notes, but the whole goal is, hey, the stories we're hearing from the people out there that are going out and buying deals, and then either leaving their jobs to do this full time, or the borrowers that they're helping along the way. We're in the process of writing a book right now called Loan Tales, Aaron, where we got 50 chapters of 50 different case studies from students, and some of the case studies are vanilla because that happens a lot of time, but we're also getting some interesting stories from people. Had this interesting borrower who cried at the closing table, who was able to stay in a house and 12 months later. Those are the things that you get really excited about. It's the stories that come down to it. And that's I think it's one of the great things I love about you, Aaron. You're a great storyteller. You're a great, but I think it's very critical versus those that just out trying to push something. You got to be able to tell a story, because people identify with stories. They don't identify with paperwork or filling out a form. They identify with the stories, and the stories helps makes the reason they're filling out that stuff important, right?
Oh my gosh. The stories are what always, I don't care where you are. I mean, everything's a story. You go to Disneyland, and the reason Disneyland or the Disney parks, in my opinion, are more successful than, let's say, Universal. Universal has better roller coasters. They have great brands. But if you go to Universal's parks, you transition like from King Kong to Dr. Seuss to a tram ride through a back lot. It's disjointed. But you walk up to Disney and there's this wonderful train station, and you walk through a tunnel, and going through a portal is a psychological thing. That's why paintings, photographs, movies, and so when you have to look down an alleyway or look through a door, it grabs your imagination. So Disney, you walk through a tunnel from the world you were inhabiting into 1914, Illinois, small town, right? Or whatever. And everything is a story. There's the city hall, and there's the drugstore, and there's the whatever. And everywhere you transition, it kind of goes in a logical order. And the story is everything. And it makes people not want to leave. They don't feel confused. They feel pulled into a great new place that they weren't a few minutes. They weren't going there a few minutes ago, didn't even know it existed. And in our businesses, if we can become great at explaining our origin story, not all the features of what we do, not all the cool things about, we've been in business forever and we've got all these people and I get to do all these, I get vaunted, lifted up. And if you don't do that, and if you say, here's how it started. There was a truck driver, a guy that owned a trucking company in Carson City, Nevada, named Harley Laughlin, and he saw an opportunity. The state wanted to bring some more cash in. And we start telling the story of where did this company start? And it was always about the regular person, the regular business owner, the truck driver, the small restaurant owner, the landscape maintenance person. We're there to serve the regular Main Street small business owner, and it's been that way for 48 years. You tell a story and people go, oh, they understand me. They get me, versus just going, buy my thing. It's this much money. It's a fair deal. Just give me your credit card.
What rings to mind now is that after your trip to the red light district, do you think it would be better if the girls had their origin story on the walls?
No, I think you would break their parents' hearts. I think you'd feel really bad.
I'm laughing because you're talking about, and I love it. You're right. Origin stories are great, but it just popped in my head. And then I started thinking of Steph and I got home yesterday from Orlando early, and then we went to last night and saw a great origin story in Captain Marvel last night.
Oh, yeah, I want to see that.
Great story about how Captain Marvel came around. Nick, Samuel Jackson's character, Nick Fury, and a few other things. And it was really good. But you're right. Everybody loves the origin story of if you're a superhero, how you got your superhero powers, or how you developed, or what happened. You know what I mean? It makes it much more believable.
When I start out saying my first real company, I came home for Christmas and I didn't have any money. I was a freshman in college, my only year of college. I didn't have any money. And I thought, how can I make some money to buy Christmas presents? And I remember what I did as a Boy Scout. We went out and picked up old newspapers, knocked doors, picked up newspapers. This is in 1980s, early 1980s. So I borrowed a truck and I started knocking doors. And before that Christmas break was over, I'd made about $3,000, 1982.
Money.
As an 18-year-old, right? So I went back to school and I mapped out the whole city of Portland and I made up these cool little flyers, and I didn't have any money. So I made it so I could have 3 flyers per 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, right? And they're just black and white. And they told about going to college and we'll clean your gutters and we'll pick up your newspapers. Well, within a few months, I had 5,000 monthly customers, 2 trucks, 3 other guys, and off we go, right? But we're just kids trying to figure something out, and we came up with a way.
Mm-hmm.
And these stories, your story of get rid of all your stuff, you get in your truck with your dog, and you go around the country for what, 2-3 years?
I thought it'd be 30 weeks hitting all the baseball parks, turning into 3+ years. Yeah. Everybody loves that story. Yeah.
It's a great story. And it's a story of sacrifice, of commitment, of ingenuity, because everybody goes, oh my Lord, I would never think to do that. But Scott did. I better follow Scott. Scott seems to have a more creative brain than me.
Crazier brain.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Crazier brain. Got a few comments on here. Let's see here. Tom Hazard says, too funny, Scott Carson. He goes, the Red Light Stories podcast.
Yeah, we're going to start that soon, but there'll be no video.
No video. Exactly. Let's see here. Good stuff. Steph talking about some conversations, and it's such a different, challenging world, and people need systems in place, like you said before. Let's talk about, let's transition here a little bit. We're talking about, you got some great things about how to get outside of their mind, how to think of things. You've got an upcoming event here in less than a month, actually, roughly. Well, actually, 30 days from today, I believe, because it kicks off the 11th, doesn't it?
Yeah, April 11th, 12th, and 13th down in San Diego.
Mm-hmm. At the Dana on Mission Bay, and it's an amazing event that you host twice a year called Magnify Your Wealth Summit. And that's literally the website, magnifyyourwealth.com. For those that are listening, I'd like to check it out. Well worth it. But talk a little bit about how what the event is about and how you kind of came up with the idea for the Magnify Your Wealth.
Yeah. So so as you mentioned at the top of the show, Laughlin Associates is 48 years old. And for many years, we did an event called the Secrets of Using a Corporation workshop. And people showed up, and it was a great event. And it was very, very limited to anything about corporations. And then we started adding LLCs. Remember, LLCs are not that old. Right. They haven't been around for that long. And so as all the states had passed LLC legislation, we started adding that in. So it's the secret of using corporation or LLC. But I realized that our customer that was there they needed that, but they needed more. And there were other things they needed. And I didn't want to bring in a bunch of random, because I know all these speakers, I didn't want to just bring in a bunch of random topics. I wanted to follow the sort of the evolution of a business from what's the first thing I do to form a corporation or an LLC? When should I do that? What are the rules? Why do they matter? How do they protect me? How do I start using multiple entities strategically for asset protection, for tax benefits, for just for leveraging your wealth, for protecting your assets? So when I said asset protection, there's lawsuit protection. There's external problems like where you could have issues at your home, whether it's a divorce or it's some tragedy or whatever. There are all these things that we needed to know about that. And then people were saying, well, okay, this is all great, Aaron, but I have some money. I have some real money. What do I do with that? And we're not investment people, but I thought I can come in and talk to them. Anybody can watch on Home and Garden television how to flip a house, right? Whether you want to go to Texas with, Fixer Upper, or you want to go to Los Angeles or Vegas or wherever, there's somebody that'll tell you how to do it. So I thought, well, we need something beyond that. There are more more opportunities. That's why I started asking, you came as an attendee the first time. And I said, well, will you take 10 or 15 minutes to talk to the audience about what you do? And everybody went nuts. And so now it's like, as often as I can have you there, I want you there to speak. I know you can't make it every time, but if you can, I always want you, because people love learning about distressed debt. But we've had Spartan Invest, Maureen McCann's been there talking about people that just want to invest in a kind of a turnkey rental house. Tom Powell comes and talks about oil and gas leases and how to do that. And so we thought, let's expose people to some things that are not for the most entry-level sort of pedestrian investor. Let's teach them how to make real wealth, how to buy things at a really advantage price point, and then how to hold those things and how to make it multi-generational. I decided it was important to cover all the levels of being a business owner, so that you could not only start out right, but you can grow, you can make a lot of money, you can protect it, and then eventually you can either sell it. That's Unshackled Owner. Can you sell it or let it operate without you having to be there to be the most critical employee? So now we cover all those bases over 3 days. We do it. We used to be in Vegas at a hotel or Reno at a hotel, and I'm sorry, everybody listening, I hate casino hotels. Yeah. Like, I hate it. It's all smoky. It's noisy. It's not, in my mind, it's not ideal for really taking in new information and challenging your thoughts. And I went to the Dana. As a matter of fact, you and I met at the Dana the very first time years ago. Yep. At Secret Knock. And I decided that's one of the nicest rooms for a small group, right? We limit it to 100 people. So that way you can have meetings with all the lawyers and accountants and financial advisors and real estate and oil. You can sit down one-on-one privately and talk about real issues. So the Dana is right there on the water with all the sailboats, and it's a beautiful location. It's everything about it to me is just great. And so that's why we've made the Dana the home of the resort, the home of the event. And I hope people will come. As a matter of fact, if anybody you told them they can go to magnifyyourwealth.com. And is it okay if I give a?
Yes, please do. Please do.
Right.
I think for those that are listening and enjoying this, I think it's important. I think it's one of the events that we promote all the time, because we know how valuable it is to everybody that's there, because we've been through it.
Yeah. So if you want to check it out, go to magnifyyourwealth.com. And if you want to register, if you go to register, there's a place for a promo code, and just put in VIP. Unless, I don't know, Scott, hold on. Do you have a different code? I don't know. If
I don't off the top of my head. No. So VIP.
Okay. VIP. That'll get you the very best pricing that's available. I think right now, most people that are not hearing from me are paying $6.99 for tickets, and that'll keep going up every couple of weeks. And the week of the show, people still pay $1,499 the week of the show, because we've already paid for. We've already told the hotel, here's how many people we're feeding, here's how many cookies we need, here's how much coffee we need, right? So people that show up at the end have to make up for the fact that they've messed up my food and beverage budget. And so you can get it for half that price if you just do it a few weeks in advance. Mm-hmm. But people every year show up at the door and pay $1,500 to walk in. It's amazing to me that they know about it. So come to it. Especially if you're in California somewhere, or Nevada, or somewhere easy, you can just drive over. You'll have a phenomenal time. We'll take you out on Mission Bay in a boat and feed you and have a nice little bay cruise. We had dolphins swimming along the boat last time. It was really fun.
It was extremely fun. So once again, everybody, it's April 11th, 12th, and 13th. It starts at roughly 8:30, 9 o'clock, I believe, on Thursday.
Yeah, we start at 9 in the morning. We let you sleep in a little bit, and start at 9 in the morning. 3 days of great education, great networking, great contacts, really good presenters, including Scott Carson. And
You get the chance to schedule time with the experts, the Kevin Days, the Brett Busquets. We had Brett on our podcast last month talking about going across Europe. But that's the thing, is you get a chance to sit down with these advisors, these attorneys that are charging more than $250 now. You get a chance to spend time with them, talk about your situation, talk about where you're at, where you want to go, and they help put the plans in place, along with the staff at Laughlin, who just does a tremendous job there. Trust me, when I walk out of there, and everybody that I've invited there and who's gone, who's been a student, a client, has gone and walked out of there with just their mind blown, like, oh my gosh, this was one of the most valuable things I could do as an entrepreneur. Not only setting up your new business, but if you're existing entrepreneur, business owner, things that you want to do and make sure, T's and I's that you want to cross off and check and dot and all that good stuff to make sure that you are protected against, life, anything bad happening to you, right?
It's definitely, it serves startups, but it's not really geared at startups.
Right.
It's geared at people who are successful, who now need to figure out, I'm starting to get a little money. What can I do with it? I'm starting to have something I could lose. How do I protect it? And what's new with the tax code? What's new? What new opportunities exist that I didn't know about or that I wasn't ready for a year ago? And I'm glad we're going to be there together a month from now with we both are running all over the world, but we'll be in the same place for that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Definitely. Once again, it's April 11th, 12th, and 13th at the Dana Resort in Mission Bay. They do have a room block there. Like I said, you can go to magnifyyourwealth.com, use the discount code VIP to get the best price that Aaron's offering up to our listeners, our Note Nation family out there. Important to guys, trust me. It's only held twice a year. Held it once in April, and another one's not till like October.
The next one's the first weekend of November.
First week of November there for you out there. But just a great way. If you want to hear more interesting stories about the red light district and entrepreneurship and tell them the stories, come to the Dana in San Diego.
Well, we have stories. Let me tell you, folks, you come for the stories, come for the stories and the free cookies.
There you go. Come for the stories, stay for the asset protection.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, Aaron, I want to say thank you again for taking time on your busy Monday. I know you've got to run here. Same here as well, too. But great seeing you, even if it is via Zoom, and look forward to hanging out with you in 30 days and getting a chance to catch up with you and Michelle and the rest of the crew over at Laughlin.
All right, brother. Thanks for having me on, and look forward to seeing you. You guys follow Scott. He's a smart guy. Listen to what he has to say.
And also one of the things too, if you like this, what Aaron, you also have a podcast. You want to talk about the podcast before we let you go?
Sure. Yeah. Go to anywhere, all the podcast places, we're everywhere. It's called the Unshackled Owner podcast. And we have a lot of fun there. We're doing some fun things with that podcast. I'd love to invite you to come over and check it out. If you want to learn how to build a business that works harder for you than you have to work for it, I can teach you how to do that. So come over to the podcast.
Awesome, guys. Well, hey, that will wrap it up for this episode of the Note Closure Show. Go out, take some action, whether you're coming to San Diego or you're jumping in and listening to the Unshackled Owner podcast. We'd love having you listen there or be in attendance. Once again, magnifyyourwealth.com, special code VIP, and we'll see you there in San Diego, April 11th through the 13th. Other than that, go out, take some action, and we'll see you all at the top, everybody. Bye.